Hey, this is Joe Castiglione, and you're listening to Not Another Sox Podcast. Can you believe it?
Yankees suck! Yankees suck!
Buenos noches, amigos. Welcome to another episode of Not Another Sox Podcast. I am your producer, co-host Ian here with our host Jack Webster, coming at you live from Providence, Rhode Island. Fella, Cam Schlittler needs ChatGPT to use an apology.
Yeah, Gen Z is fucking cooked.
Dude,
they can't even apologize without just being like, beep bop robot.
Robot. How embarrassing is that? Imagine writing, quote unquote, writing an apology to Boston fans and the chat bubble from your ChatGPT is still in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, learn to crop, you idiot.
Yeah. How old is he?
Yeah, that's good old-fashioned Northeastern education over there, but yeah.
Yeah, where are they teaching those kids in Boston?
Yeah.
How old is Cam Schlittler?
Probably like 23 or 24.
Yeah, so Gen X, true and true. Gen Z?
I think he qualifies under Gen Z.
I think he's
Yeah.
Gen GBT.
Yeah.
Personally. So we kind of had to do a little check-in. There's been a lot going on with the Red Sox in the early stages of free agency, and obviously this time of year there's a little less to talk about until big things happen. But there have been a lot of little moves that we wanted to comment on just for a few minutes, come on tonight and get a few things out.
Yeah, no, these are all kind of, routine things. These are things we kind of knew the timelines of a little bit. Like, it's kind of like just like the pregame before actual free agency where things start to line up a little bit, opt-ins, opt-outs, a few DFAs, qualifying offers, like all that type of stuff before you're actually able to just, talk to actual players and, actually figure out who might be interested in who. Oh my God, the Red Sox, they're interested in this guy. Yeah.
I'm going to pull your pigtails. There's a lot to comment on. I think the best place to start is around the qualifying offers. Red Sox issued none. What's important about that is, firstly, Dustin May does not qualify for a qualifying offer.
Yeah, but I didn't even realize that. But
Yeah.
it was so stupid that who even actually thought of the logistics of it.
Yeah. Let's start with Liam Hendriks declining his mutual option.
You just said we're starting with qualifying offers, then you immediately moved on.
Well,
But yeah.
it's more the options around these players, right? And the
Yeah.
qualifying offer is part of that. So I wanted to get to Dustin May not being eligible. Liam Hendriks, it was mutual, I guess. But if I was a Red Sox person, I would shut that out pretty
Yeah,
fast.
no chance. I mean, he just didn't pitch at all. He was bad. He seemed like a great guy in the clubhouse. Like,
Yeah.
hey, don't get
Jaron
me wrong.
Duran's PR team.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, for when you're talking about like closer money for a guy that has really just not pitched in 3 years now,
Right.
and like has been ineffective when he has, that was such a no-brainer. I think most people even forgot that there was an option on anything. So, yeah, that one, like, it's just kind of funny. Because it was the most obvious thing of all time. Nobody was even talking about it just because how obvious it was.
Yeah. And on the other side of
And also because we just forgot about Liam Hendriks.
No, I saw that and I was like, oh, yeah, right. But on the other side of options and qualifying offers, the Red Sox and Liam Hendriks both declined the mutual option. And
No,
then,
I think it was just the Red Sox option. I don't even think Liam had a say in it.
yeah, did I say Liam Hendriks?
did.
I meant Lucas Giolito.
This is the more interesting one.
This is. So he did not receive a qualifying offer, which was something we were all watching. And I guess he declined his end of the mutual option, but so did the Red Sox. So, I mean, looking at this, why didn't he receive the qualifying offer, and what happened with the mutual declines on both sides?
Yeah, let's start with the mutual declines because that's kind of a little bit more interesting because you almost because we talked about whenever there's like the mutual option, like we talk about like, you know, how neither side typically agrees because, you know, either a player had a good year and they want to opt out, or a player had a bad year and the team wants to opt out of it. So it's very, very rare that a team both agree on it, which I can't remember a single time of that ever actually happening. But it was kind of interesting because it came out that like Lucas Giolito declined his player option, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Like, you know, force their hand and, you know, make the Red Sox offer a qualifying offer.
Yep.
But then it came out the Red Sox, before Lucas Giolito did even, declined their end of the mutual option as well. So both sides did, which is also apparently pretty rare. It's like the 7th or 8th time it's happened, according to Red Sox payroll, great follow on Twitter. So at that point, I kind of saw the writing on the wall of what the Red Sox were going to do with Lucas Giolito. If they weren't willing to have him back for, you know, I think it was like $19 million or something on a 1-year deal, then why would you offer him $22 million?
Yeah.
Like, you know, because at that point he might, you know, actually accept it. And, you know, you have him for that 1 year. And if you're okay with having him for that 1 year, just try to do it at $19 million, you know, instead. It wouldn't have mattered at the end of the day because he did reject it on his end as well. But once they did that, I was like, okay, they're not risking, like, having him come, or I shouldn't say risking him coming back, but like if they didn't want him back at that point, you know, it's not worth the 4th round compensation pick that you would have gotten anyways.
Right.
So I wasn't too surprised after that. You know, we talked a bit last week, and there's been so many Twitter polls and everybody debating if we should or shouldn't. And now you need to, you know, go out there and probably fill another rotation spot in the off season, which is fine. So I wouldn't even be too shocked if, you know, they figure something out, like at a lower annual value, maybe 2 or 3 years. You know, there's some under the hood stuff that we talked about last episode that, you know, raises some flags. You know,
injury history too.
Injury history, end of the year with an injury, elbow injury too, which is, you know, like if it was like a calf strain, who cares?
Right.
Like, you know, if it was just like something like that. But when you're talking about the elbow that he's had Tommy John on before, even if he's, you know, fine now and rehabs and everything, the fact that, like, you know, we're less than a year removed from him coming back to a mound and it's starting to bark again. So I wouldn't hate if Lucas Giolito came back in some way. You would only count on him as your 4th or 5th dude. But I'm, you know, willing to see what other options are out there before. So I would be, you know, I want to see, you know, the ceiling of the rotation race, kind of like what Craig was saying. I want to actually see top end guys. There's no reason why we can't get multiple number 2s or whatever. So I'm not sure Lucas Giolito was that guy. Thank you for your 1 year. Well, 2 years, I guess. Only really 1 year, though.
Yeah.
So,
1 year of productive playing time, right?
Yeah.
And
1
year
on the
of
surface, you know,
duding.
he was productive and it was good, you know. Maybe got a little lucky at times and, you know, had some ups and downs, but that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, totally okay with what he gave us this year. And we touched on it a little bit in our last episode, but the only reason you don't extend him a qualifying offer is because you're worried he'd accept it when you want an upgrade from what he would be. He was really great for us this year. He had a few really stellar months. He was a big reason I think the Red Sox put a few wins in the win column and got them to the end of the year.
Yeah, if we didn't have Lucas Giolito, we might not make a playoff spot. And I don't think that's too crazy to say.
No, not at all. And I think a team will pay more money for Lucas Giolito on the open market than I, as a Red Sox armchair GM, would be willing to pay him.
Yeah, no, he is going back to the Angels, or he is like gonna be with Paul DiPodesco on the Rockies or some shit like that.
Yeah,
so yeah,
I love that they hired Paul DiPodesta for the Rockies.
Yeah, Peter
Brand, famous Jonah Hill Moneyball character,
Yeah.
Paul DiPodesta.
Yeah, because everything was going so great with the Cleveland Browns that they were like, yeah, let's do this for the Rockies.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what happens with that. But watch Paul DiPodesta hire Lucas Giolito.
Yeah, that would be so awful for him too. Like that would be like, I mean, and nobody wants to go pitch for the Rockies, but like that would particularly be bad.
Yeah, Adam Ottavino is in there too. Another just really funny thing. But speaking of pitching for the Rockies, I guess.
Yeah.
Other things that big happen with the Red Sox. Obviously, we're going to talk a bit about the story opt-in, but Lucas Giolito not getting a qualifying, Liam Hendricks losing his option, Dustin May doesn't look like is coming back. Cooper Criswell, 1 year, 800,000. Coop Troop.
Salute.
If you're watching this on Twitter, YouTube, salute the Coop Troop.
Or if you're just in our living room right now, that's possible too.
Yeah, or if you're me or you.
Yeah, or Petey.
For 800,000. I like the Coop Troop deal.
Yeah, I think that's less than what he was making before.
It
I remember he
was.
signed like $1 million deal, and like we were all like, "That's great." So it is, one of those things where I was kind of wondering what the future might be, and by that I mean I really hadn't thought about it at all.
Yeah.
But I was like, he's out of options now.
Yep.
So the fact that they avoided arbitration technically through that 1 year deal, since they still had team control over him, tells me that, they expect him to be on the roster next year. Otherwise, they could have just non-tendered him. They could have DFA'd him. And, a team probably would have picked him up. But I think, he was not like burned last year, but like it was not in his favor that he had that extra option year, because he probably would have been up with the major league club for the most part. And, next year he will have to be in order to, stay on the team or stay in the organization, I should say. So, we got our long man out of the pen figured out, and for $800 million to Cooper Criswell.
Criswell, come on down.
It's so used to like saying baseball money in millions that when it's not even
that's how they get paid, right?
Yeah, it's essentially major league minimum.
Yeah, it's not a lot. I love Cooper Criswell as a depth piece at $800 million. I think that's a steal for Cooper Criswell.
Absolutely.
And I think not only is he a great depth piece, but knowing that you can rely on him as a depth piece and that you're moving on from, Giolito, Hendricks, May, that's going to give guys like Peyton Tolley, Connolly Early, even Uberstein a shot at performing in the rotation, which is where you want those guys to be at this point. A few cups of coffee at the major league level, and you hope they do well.
Yeah, exactly. So it was one of those things wasn't even thinking about, but glad it happened.
Yeah, same here. Before we get to the story opt-in, because that's definitely huge, I wanted to more ask you, today we saw the 60-day IL reinstatements of a bunch of players who actually will not be starting in spring training or the beginning of the year, like Tanner Houck, Cutter Crawford. Well, maybe Cutter Crawford.
I hope so, yeah.
But what does it mean that they're reinstating players from the 60-day IL in the offseason?
Well, I mean, these are guys that were, off the 40-man roster by being on the 60-day IL, so that way you created a space for them. And in the offseason, there's no IL. There's no, limbo or anything like that. You're either on the 40-man or you're not.
Okay.
So these are the guys that, obviously were missing a lot of the year. So like Cutter Crawford didn't pitch any. Tanner Houck, missed most of the year. Even guys like Marcelo Meyer was on the 60-day IL. So that way you could just create, a 40-man spot for somebody who needed. But you can't just like bury them there in the offseason. Like you do have to add them back. And, I believe that makes the 40-man roster currently full. So there was like no surprises there. You thought maybe like a guy like Josh Winkowski or someone like that might ended up getting DFA'd. And it ended up being Luis Guerrero, which I think was a bit surprising to most people, but yeah.
I think so. I mean, when I looked at Luis Guerrero, like even in the minor league level, had some really good strikeout numbers. Some of the under the hood stuff was a little confusing, like the FIP and whip.
Yeah, he gave up a lot of walks and did not keep the ball in the park.
Yeah, but I was even with those numbers, I was a little surprised he got the DFA hammer over some of the other guys on the 40-man.
Yeah, that's where I was at too. So like, obviously throughout the course of the offseason, you're gonna have to DFA guys. There's guys who essentially just trade to get off the roster. And there was a few guys in front of Luis Guerrero that I probably thought were going to get the hammer before, like Josh Winkowski, like Vaughn Grissom,
right.
really.
Well, we can't admit we lost the Chris Sale trade yet.
Yeah, I know, it's literally. So we'll probably still end up seeing, a lot of those throughout the offseason. And there was a chance, Luis Guerrero might have been just like, it might have been the same result in a month or two anyways.
Sure.
Like where he ended up getting DFA'd. So I think what the Red Sox might have just been trying to do is, obviously there's a lot of transactions going on this week.
Yes.
The DFAs, players getting released, blah,
administrative
blah, blah.
stuff,
Yeah,
right?
guys getting added back to their 40-man roster from the 60-day. So I'm hoping they think they could just like sneak them under the radar, essentially, since I don't think he can elect free agency yet. So I think if they're hoping that he somehow clears and you just keep him in the org, and if somebody does claim him and you lose him, whatever.
Yeah.
like we had a great bullpen last year. We have the opportunity to add more onto it. Luis Guerrero may have not just been that back end guy that we thought he might be. Would have liked to see him maybe get another chance. A team will definitely take a chance on him some way or another.
Right.
So he is a future Dodger back end guy.
Dodger, a Doyer. It's interesting because they could still technically offer a trade for him, right? Like someone could pick him up, or someone could be
it wouldn't be for anything really.
Yeah, I know. It'd be for like Dick Blyer.
Yeah, literally.
May he rest in peace. So I'd love to get to the story opt-in after we do your very intentional fit check tonight.
Yep. So this one, I'm glad I'm just able to fit into it, since I've had this jersey for a long ass time.
Yeah,
so
you look
this
sexy.
is the Nationals need to bring back this jersey at some point, like for a throwback, even though Nike sucks. But yeah, we got one of my favorite pitchers growing up, Steven Strasburg. I mean, the youth today don't remember how hype MLB was when he first came up. First all-around draft pick, was supposed to save the Nationals. And you know what? He did.
He did.
Yeah, he was often hurt, but he had some really good years in there, and, had some top 5 Cy Young finishes, and won the World Series MVP like with the Nationals, which I think a lot of people forget about. Then he signed a huge contract, and pretty much he exploded. And it was either between Strasburg or Anthony Rendon, and it turns out the answer was neither. And I love Strasburg. I think he just accepted a job at San Diego State as like some type of consultant. So very happy for him. If he stayed healthy, he could have been a Hall of Famer. So I will remember him fondly. And he signed one of my hats once, which I don't know where is that anymore.
Is he on your short list of guys naming dudes you would name Steven Strasburg?
I feel like he's almost too well known. He was the first all-around draft pick. He had the biggest hype of any pitcher since Paul Skeens. So it would be a guy. It would be naming a dude, but like it's
not niche enough.
Yeah, not niche enough. Like, give me Gio Gonzalez.
Yeah, whatever that means, I guess. So obviously, the big news we got this week, huge information for Red Sox fans and the Red Sox in building the infield in the offseason, which is going to prove to be a task.
Which was before this week, every spot.
Every single one, all 4 of them. And we had the Trevor Story official opt-in decision this week. He's going to stay with the Red Sox. He says he likes the way the organization is going. And I think, personally, I like the Story opt-in because now you don't have to fill all 4 spots. And if you get the Trevor Story you got in June, July, and August, I will take that Trevor Story for 2 years every time.
Yeah, let's hope he can stay on the field.
Yep.
Yeah, like you did this last year. You can't really knock him for that, given the recency of it. But yeah, I was happy that he opted back in. I wouldn't want to have to figure out every single spot and depend on Marcelo just for one of them.
Yeah.
So I still do think hey, maybe just move him over to second.
Yeah.
Unless if you get like a Ketel Marte or someone real electric there, when you already have an internal option that's better defensively, it makes a lot of sense just kind of playing around that. He was already open to it when he first signed in Boston. He doesn't seem like the prima donna type that would be like, oh no, I'm the shortstop, especially since he already moved
right.
once. So I think, that's probably where it's going to be. You could go out there and get a shortstop. Not a lot out there really though. And then, hopefully third base, that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But you at least have one of those spots filled, and, it's a good value. $25 million, that's not that much. You're going to be able to work around other places in it, and it's a short-term deal. 2 years, whatever.
Yeah. No, I like that he's coming back. He's also a good veteran presence. Like, we saw he did a lot with Christian Campbell at the beginning of the year. He does his story camp, and a lot of guys go to that. He's a really good presence for them. I would very much prefer to see him at second base.
Yeah.
He's an elite second baseman, a really strong shortstop, but elite second baseman.
It's the arm that's specific about it.
Noodle.
And like the arm's going to play better at second than at short because the range is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the other shortstop options, obviously your internal is Marcelo Meyer.
Yeah.
You want him to be the franchise shortstop. We want to see him play shortstop this year, obviously. And your external options, you'd be looking at guys like Bo Bichette, Miguel
Who's
Rojas.
even worse.
Yes,
Yeah,
Bo
like,
Bichette is not a
defensively.
good defensive shortstop.
Great bat, and I would be happy to have him. But
Yes.
he would. You're not moving Story to second for Bo Bichette, who already played second base in the World Series.
Yeah, you would move Bo Bichette to second.
That's a
and
whole
keep
nother
Story at short.
conversation for another day, though. We'll do a whole free agency, blah blah blah.
For sure, for sure. But as a reminder, your external options are Bo Bichette, Miguel Rojas, and Hassan Kim are kind of your big shortstop
Okay,
options.
so glad Story's back.
Yes,
and we have
very
Meyer.
glad.
Yeah, so.
But now the big thing, right? Because you got to get 4 decent players who don't give up errors and blow games all the time. You got one of your 4 infielders, and now you need probably a third baseman, though there's conversations with Bregman. You're going to need another middle infielder, and you're going to need a long-term first baseman. Is Casas your long-term first base? Who's your other middle infielder? And sans Bregman, which we hope we get back, who's your third baseman?
Yeah, so there could be a few different options. You could put Meyer at third base, too, if you really needed to.
Who was great at third.
Yeah, he was great at third. Probably great at second. Great at short.
Yep.
Put him anywhere.
Keep him.
Yep. So to answer the first part of the question, it's really hard to say Casas is your long-term plan when you're not even looking at him for next year.
Yeah.
How can you say a guy's your long-term plan at first base when you have an opening and you're looking at all these other external options, as he should. So I think anything they try to get out of him is, gravy. I think they're willing to just let it ride on black, though, and willing to just lose out and get nothing, or, maybe get that 30 to 40 home run first baseman that we've seen flashes of.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to let it ride, but I don't think they're counting or depending on him. Anything that they get out of him is just like a nice bonus for next year. And maybe, maybe he lights the world on fire, and maybe like we get like a long-term first baseman, Pete Alonso, or maybe we make a trade for Vinny Pasquantino or something, who's also very bad defensively too. So it's not, 30 home runs, 100 RBI is nice, but not sure he's even the long-term solution either. But that's, again, conversation for another day. I just don't think it's going to be Casas. It's going to be somebody external, and I just hope that, we hit a bunch of ding-dongs at that position, because we've been lacking that there too. So
We have, and the first base market this winter is going to be huge anyway. I would love to see some production from Casas, but I think the external options, that list is so long. I don't know if Casas is your first option at first. He might be your second option at first, but I bet they look outside.
It's hard to just count on him to be the opening day first baseman next year.
Because he always gets hurt.
I was going to say, because what happens, again, if we're just doing another revolving door of... not Cooper Criswell,
You got
the
this.
Pooper Scooper.
Oh, Garrett Cooper,
Garrett
the
Cooper,
Pooper
yeah.
Scooper.
And, all respect to Dom Smith, but, I don't want to have to be doing that again. And, Nate Lowe stepped up, but, I don't think we're going to be tendering him a contract either.
Yeah.
So I would like an actual long-term solution there. If it's a Band-Aid with a guy that's really good too, I'm not going to complain, but it would be nice to kind of figure out that problem finally, since we haven't had a good, defensive and solid bat since like Mitch Moreland.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we're just doing a quickie episode tonight, so we're going to start winding down. We're really happy. Story opted in. You're thinking your first base is external. You're thinking Meyer is going to close out one of your other infield positions. You got one infield position left. Are you putting all your money on Bregman?
Yeah, and I do still think it's going to happen. I don't know when. It's going to be a slow market with the lockout looming and the salary cap looming. So could be a little bit before we actually see it happening. I was hoping that, maybe we might figure out something before free agency starts, but it doesn't look like that. So if we don't sign him, there isn't a ton of names out there that really move the needle a ton for me. You do have the luxury of kind of like I was saying, mixing and matching guys. You could just go out there and like I was saying, get like a Kettle Marte and like just move Meyer to third base or whatever. Or, you just go out there and he has some flaws, but you could get like 40 to 50 home runs out of Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah.
And, maybe you have to move him to first or DH down the road, but like, Max Bunchly was able to play third, so
he was.
You can play Suarez there.
Kike Hernandez was able to play third.
Yep. So that's another option. I don't remember how many other like real names caught my eye. I don't think they're after Murakami. Okamoto, I believe his name was, can play third, but same thing. He's probably a first baseman. A lot of these like third basemen out there, they're really first baseman cosplaying. Like,
exactly. Rengifo too.
Yeah, they're just waiting to move to first base eventually.
Gotcha. So you're hopeful for Bregman, but you're ready to buckle in. I think
it's Bregman until it's not.
Yeah, that's what we all want.
Yeah.
So short episode tonight. Thanks for checking in. Obviously, a lot of important administrative stuff happens, but anything you want to say before we sign off for the evening?
No, I'm excited for the off season. Like I was just saying, I think it might be a little slow. Hopefully we see some moves before, the winter meetings, which I'm sure we'll do another special for again.
Oh, yes.
Very excited about all that. It's a fun time of year. We'll have some specials throughout the off season too. So yeah.
Tune in, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you, Believe Network. Okay. I love you.
Okay.